Peace and love. Hope all is well. Hope you're feeling blessed and safe and high vibrational. So, I'm not really sure where we're going to be led in this video, what we're going to speak on or what topics are going to come up. However, I was feeling called to kind of sit down and connect with energy, take a moment. It's been a while since I've actually sat down with energy and consciously connected. Obviously throughout life we're constantly being presented with downloads and light codes and messages from the divine, from the guides, from God, from the universe, from love. But in terms of me consciously sitting down and opening myself up and actually taking a moment to tap in, it's been a moment. So I'm sorry if I'm a bit maybe like awkward or just not my usual flowing self. I have a few decks of cards with me. Right now I have the Witch's Tarot in my hand. And before I sat down, I was feeling the energy of the world. And for some reason, really when I was getting that message, it was more so feeling like the messages that are coming, that will come out for this video, are for the world or for the collective as a whole. And for some reason before, also when I was preparing to do this video, this channeling, this connection, I kept being presented with my birthday, which is the 22nd of the 2nd, and what I kept being made aware was the day before that, and I was working a shift, and whilst I was working the shift, I started to get headaches and I started to see waves and vibrations, and usually for me that's indicating or like sign and signaling that I'm upgrading or that I'm going to experience an energetic upgrade or a shift. And I actually forgot that it was my birthday the next day, and then when I got home and I was telling somebody about the vibrations and the headaches and seeing the waves and everything, I then remembered it was my birthday the next day, and also that the date of 222, which just felt significant. For some reason, I'm being brought with rapid awakening regarding the energy of 222. But also, what card came out of the deck? So we have the Nine of Swords, Sleepless Nights. Now, this card came out a moment ago when we were shuffling and speaking on the collective, and that this video may be pertaining messages regarding the collective. And as we are aware, there's kind of a lot going on at the moment when it comes to, I want to say more so shadow or darkness, or I want to also say misunderstanding for some reason. And when I say that, I'm speaking on like Putin and everything that's happening with that. It's almost like, for some reason, misunderstandings that we will never know. For some reason, no decision is taken lightly, but it's decisions that have to be made. Decisions that were always going to be made. Things that were always going to happen. For some reason, it takes certain things to usher in certain things. And when energy is saying that, for some reason they're saying sometimes, well, it takes disaster to bring out growth, or it... Just 1 second. It's funny that that's happened, because it takes disaster to bring out hope, but really with the light turning off, it takes darkness to bring out light. It requires us to experience dark. We are required to experience darkness to be able to acknowledge the light. It's almost like it's all just a bad dream. And one day we're going to wake up from the darkness. One day we're going to wake up from the fear, the worry, the anxiety. But for some reason there's an element of this being everybody's fight, not being one person's fight, that the pressure is on all of us, that we all are to draw our sword, that we all are to choose our weapon. Energy saying that for some, their weapon is the tongue. For some, their weapon is their voice. And then they just said, for some, it's not that it's their weapon. For some, it's their defense. For some, their mouth or the words that they speak will be their defense against darkness. But also what they're showing me is against misunderstood light. And what energy is saying that sometimes people or scenarios can be perceived as being darkness, but really it's just light misunderstood. I don't know why, but I'm being shown villains in movies that if the story was told from the angle of the supervillain, that they are not a villain. That when the movie is based, or the story is from the perspective of the superhero, we focus upon the hero part of it. And if we was to turn it to the perspective, and then we see the villain as a villain. But if we was to turn it from the perspective of not being the, sorry, I'm not explaining it well, but what they're presenting me with is the fact that we need to focus more on the super part rather than the hero part or the villain part. Focus on the individual being a superhero rather than being, focus on the person being super, not necessarily a superhero or a supervillain. Focus on the super aspect of them. And you're saying that the super aspect of them is the part of them that is front and center, the part of them that is being displayed. The villain is a super villain because something about them is still superior to the masses, whether that is their status, whether that is the amount of attention that they attract, whether that is the amount of energy they are able to expel. There's still something about them that is to be acknowledged, to be not necessarily respected, but to be maybe studied or focused upon so that we can all kind of learn, is the way I kind of need to put it. Knight of Pentacles, definitely. Sorry, I don't know if you can see, but you have this individual. You remember what we just said about this individual has things that we may need to observe. If you look at this DR, is observing this individual on this horse, and this individual on the horse is on a black horse. The horse kind of representing the shadow. So this is kind of representing the supervillain. That there are still lessons and teachings, that there is still kind of light surrounding this individual's experience, because it's just about perspective. That there is no real good or bad, it's just perspective. Going back to the movies, that it's about understanding one's reasoning or one's justification for their actions rather than condemning people for their actions. It's that there are things close to the supervillain's chest that are not being revealed. Maybe reasons to this person's chest that are not being revealed. I don't know whether to say it or not, but it could obviously be referring back to Putin and everything that's happening. Five of Swords. It's that all eyes are on this individual. And really, yes, all eyes are on Putin at this moment. And it's almost right now he's seen as the moth. Seen as a bit dark. Seen as ugly. Seen as this... I want to say this. Seen as this creature that is caught... That is... See, I wanted to say causing, but then I was getting forcing battle. But the strange thing is what I just saw is I'm seeing him hand everybody a sword. And I don't know why, and it doesn't have to be true, but energetically what I'm feeling is that like something about the battle being equal. Or everybody having a chance. Something about the forcing of change or the forcing of transformation. But there's also something about all of these swords coming together to either defeat a common entity or coming together to become one. It doesn't necessarily have to be to defeat anything or anybody, but to maybe close out or bring about something new, if that makes sense. Almost uniting so that all can go from being this moth and transform into the butterfly. It's almost that in order for this to happen, the battle is necessary or a fight is necessary. It doesn't have to be with exactly what we're seeing on the news or on the media with the actual war and with them talking about World War III. However, that's very much so possible with what Angie's talking about could very much so be related to that. Children, Six of Cups. Let me just pull another card for the Six of Cups card. Karma at the bottom of the deck, we have the Five of Cups. I feel like I just need to gain some clarity. Okay. So there's definitely a cycle with how karma's at the bottom of the deck, but with the Five of Cups, this individual, it's about this threshold, needing to get through this threshold, but in order to get through the threshold, they need to get out of this emotional turmoil. You then have the Six of Cups, which is for me about 9 months, and also a cycle coming about or closing or ending. But then we also have the Ace of Cups. That this is, and sorry, I'm now understanding with the karma card being at the bottom of the deck. How this came about is that we're going to go through a period, and it could be a lengthy period. It could be 9 months. It could be, I don't know, I was going to say 9 years, but that just seemed like very long. However, there's a lengthy period that we're going to go through, and it's going to be an emotional period. It's going to be one of maybe feeling quite dark or feeling quite low or feeling quite scared or vulnerable. But in the end, we're going to end up in this Ace of Cups position, being emotionally fulfilled. And just bear with me 1 second. 444 also on the clock. It's going to end up with us being in an emotionally fulfilled spot. Okay, we're going to just switch decks and we're going to move to the Starseed Oracle. Energy saying that mind health is incredibly important at this time. Weight of the world, boundaries, let it go. It's not yours to carry. We also have cracked open, rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. It's almost that I want to say there are so many projections, and I want to say false narratives that are going to be played out, and it's going to be kind of like a choice of what we choose to believe. And for many, it's not going to be what makes the most sense. It's going to just be what makes us feel the least amount of anxiety of what people are going to choose to believe. When energy is saying the weight of the world, boundaries, let it go, it's not yours to carry. What energy is making me feel is that at this time there's going to be not just like projections on the news, but there's going to be a lot of opinions just floating around just from people, from like your neighbour, your brother, your sister, your cousins, friends, family. And when energy is saying let it go, boundaries, let it go, it's not yours to carry, there's the saying to follow what your heart is called to listen to. Wow. I'm seeing a separation of the heart, but when they show me this, they show me a separation of the masculine and feminine energies, but they're also showing it me in these two children, that one is a female, one is a male, and they show me a separation between the two. For some reason, it's that there's going to be so many projections put out onto us, so many false narratives put out onto us from the news, from the media, from, I want to say, the powers that be, because there's something about the more fear or the more confusion, the easier it is for the people to be led. This is why energy is reminding us to, it's not yours, let it go. Don't absorb. Don't absorb what doesn't feel true. Don't absorb what is too hard to believe, too hard to be believed, too good to be true. Don't believe what's too good to be true. They're saying that the simplest explanation is often not the truth, but also the most complex explanation is also not the truth. Energy saying it's the effortless explanation which is the truth. What flows off the tongue effortlessly is what is the truth. I remember, soul plan, the fated life versus the destiny life. Really, when this card has come out, I remember, again, we're being asked to go back inside ourselves. We're being asked to go within ourselves, to not focus on the outside world, to not focus on the media or what the news is saying or the opinions of others, but to center, to follow what to follow our higher self, to follow what we are feeling on the inside of us, to follow what our inner compass is telling us. Loosen your grip, coping mechanisms, destiny, addiction, let God in. It's time to let go. And for so many of us, we're going to have to literally release the fear. It's going to be made clear, it's going to be made evident, the times that come of those who are living their life based on fear, it's going to be clear who lives their life running from fear and who lives their life learning from fear. It's going to be those that give themselves over to the journey of life that are going to kind of survive. And it may seem that these people are being naive and just getting on with things. However, they're not naive. They understand the co-creation of life, but also the, not necessarily the reasoning, but the cause and effect nature of life and why we are to experience certain things. It's hard to explain, but I'm seeing like in a movie sometimes you just have those characters that even throughout the chaos they are extremely calm and centered. And it doesn't mean that they're not worried, or it doesn't mean that they don't have the same concerns, but they understand that either way we're going to get through this experience, and we can get through it trying to maintain balance, or actually maintain a balance, or we can be completely out of sync, out of alignment, and we can add to the chaos by bringing our own personal chaos into the mix. For some reason, energy doesn't want us to focus upon the world at the moment. And that sounds strange, because obviously what's happening. However, it's more so about our mental health, our spiritual health, and ensuring that we're not consumed or over-consumed by what is happening. It's like we've never experienced something quite like this in our time. We've only learnt about these things in kind of school. We've only learnt about these things to be events of the past, and not that they would actually happen now. For some reason, it's like we've been secretly being prepared for times of maybe war, or times of maybe destruction, or times of maybe man on man, I was going to say slaughter, but man on man harm. And it's like we have been covertly being prepared for this, and energy showing me video games, movies, just stories and school books. We've just been prepared for these kind of things like Call of Duty, and there's a lot of things that I'm being presented with. However, it's almost like because it's been done covertly, we are so underprepared in terms of actually us being able to contemplate that those things, such as war, are very much so possible, very much so still happen. I don't know if I'm actually expressing clearly, because everything's just coming in as I'm speaking it. But it's just that the covert preparation for these things, it desensitized us to these things. It made these things seem nonchalant. I'm seeing that for many, although they are watching the news, it's still not hit them, or it's still not registered that this is really happening, or the events that we're seeing affect us all. The things that we are seeing affects us all. Sorry. Let's move to the Nature's Whispers and just pull a few cards from this deck. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can do so at I am Naphtali and at @WeTheCollective_. If you like a private, the information's in the description box. Breakthrough, expansion. It makes sense, really. it's kind of clarifying what we were saying at the beginning of the reading, that everything that's happening right now, it's causing and forcing a breakthrough. It's forcing expansion. It's actually forcing the anchoring of more light alongside the, okay, I was going to say alongside the anchoring of more shadow, but energy switched it and said the anchoring of more understanding of the shadow. And the understanding of the shadow is going to come in the outcome of the darkness. When we reach this Ace of Cups period, and when we reach this Ace of Cups period, this is going to be the reason why period, where we're going to understand why we have to experience certain things as a collective, but also as individuals. Clear out the old. We're going to understand the reasoning behind the darkness, the reasoning why we may have been misled, the reasoning why we mislead ourselves. And for some reason, energy showed me that some of us, not all, and it really does feel like some of us, not all, are going to be led to this place. And also, I don't know whether this is physical, but it was feeling more so of a place of internal travel, maybe traveling through spirit or energetically shifting to this place, whether this place is a physical energetic place or whether it's just a raise in consciousness, a raise in our perspective of the way we live. But it's like some of us are going to be led, and it's going to happen through the heart. It's being led through the heart. It's the journey of the heart. Those on the journey of the heart. Those on the journey of the heart and mind. We have at the bottom of the deck, open your heart. So it's definitely those on the journey of the heart that are going to be led. Led to more love. I'm also getting like sexual health as well, or like sexual liberation. Make a decision, you are worth it, love matters, adventure. There's two sides to every story. We're going to realize how much our side matters, how much the side of the people matters. We're going to realize how much our hearts affect the experience, how what we feel affects the experience of the collective, of how we actually get to shape and shift this experience. Something about the darkness that we're going to experience is going to enable or help us common people understand our power, understand our role. Maybe there's an element of us taking back some of our power, or realizing that our voice is necessary, realizing that the heart lies within the people, realizing that it takes us to get out of our comfort zone to help expansion. It takes us having trust in ourselves as people to help heal the world. There's something about we also have to be willing to listen to the screams. They're saying that it's only the common people that listen to the screams. They mean us. It's people that have been brought up by the system. It's people that have been brought up by the matrix. That did they get necessarily a choice in how the matrix is going to play out, if that makes sense, and we are all part of it, so we all kind of like co-create the happenings of the matrix. However, I just being, some of us are born into power, some of us are born as common people, and it's just about the common people at the moment. This message is about the common people, and is realizing our power basically. And it's the common people that hear the voices, it's the common people that hear the screams, it's the common people that hear the pain of the people. They're saying that when you start to get so high in power, it just becomes about keeping a system running rather than keeping humanity running. It becomes keeping parts of the machine still working, keeping things moving, keeping the nuts and bolts working, rather than ensuring that each nut and bolt is healthy, if that makes sense. It's that once you get higher and higher, there's less attachment to the hearts of the people. That's just what I want to say. It's like beginning to see everything as a collective machine rather than people having individual experiences that make up this collective machine. I feel that I'm just going to close my eyes and just see if there is anything that energy would like to flow through me. I don't know why, but as soon as I said that, I was like, I heard Mother Gaia. I didn't hear her voice, but I heard the name Mother Gaia. We'll see if she wants to step forward and present herself or present a message. It's happening. And it's going to happen again. It's got to happen. This time there will be no mistakes. There will be tragedy and sadness and sorrow and darkness and an anchoring of fear. The reason for this anchoring of fear is because the collective is yet to let go of fear. For many years and centuries, fear has been used to shift, manipulate, control, maneuver, adjust the collective, the vibrations of the collective, the perspective of the collective. And it's got to a point where fear has now and is still being anchored to the earth alongside many other emotions. But fear itself is one component of the collective experience that is constantly used, constantly explored. Fear is a component that is strongly, consciously used as part of the human experience of today. It's important that although the collective is under fear, that one remembers that fear can only be used against you if you allow it, if you don't understand it, if you fear it. You see, many fear not because of like the event. Many fear because of how fear feels. It's uncomfortable. But what is uncomfortable can also cause growth, illumination, transformation. Pregnancy is extremely uncomfortable, probably almost unbearable. Not that I would know, however, not that he would know. However, it brings forward life, light, love energy. Sometimes sex is not comfortable. Sometimes sex is very uncomfortable. But it brings about connection, light, love, creative energy, kinetic energy. Sometimes sound is uncomfortable, but it can bring about healing. It can bring about warmth. It can bring about understanding. It can bring about love. It's important that whilst fear is and has been anchored to the earth, that fear can be used to create more light, to create more understanding, to create more love, because fear is often just discomfort. Often it's not that we are necessarily fearful, it's that we're uncomfortable with the unknown. Sometimes we're not scared of the unknown, we're just uncomfortable with the unknown. Fear has been used far too long to control and manipulate. If fear is going to continue to be used, you decide how it is used upon your experience. You decide how you internalize that fear. And it all starts with how you begin to understand fear. I thank you for listening. I thank you for being present. I send you peace, love, and gratitude. Gaia. Ashe. I thank you for being present with me. If any of these messages have resonated, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and join the journey. Peace and love. Ashe.